And Joseph of Arimathea, the 12 disciples, and some of the others, especially Mother Mary, they went in a much sturdier boat. They went to England. And this was the same place in England where Joseph had taken Jesus many times whenever they were gathering the 10 and he was studying with the Druids who had the university there at Glastonbury. They went there, and the very first church in the world, Christian church, was founded there at Glastonbury. Only they didn't call it a church because Jesus didn't and never intend for it to be a church. It was the first place. And they said Lazarus went to France, and he founded another church in France. And Mary Magdalene was responsible. I believe hers was the one in Spain. There was one in each of those countries, England, Spain, and France. It was founded by these groups, the ones who were exiled from Israel, and they thought they would die. Now, the church that they founded at Glastonbury, they never called it a Christian church because Jesus didn't want it named that. They called it the Way. The Way. And it was supposed to be based on Jesus' teachings. And the way it was supposed to have been done, the way he wanted it to be done, there was never supposed to be any one person over the entire organization. It was not supposed to be that way. They would meet when Jesus was doing his travels all over Israel and Galilee in those areas. They would meet at people's houses, different places, and different people would get up and they would lecture. They would talk about what they knew. They would talk about metaphysical teachings. They would show how to go into trance and how to meditate. They would show how to heal. These are the things that Jesus was doing, and this is what it was supposed to be. Just having meetings anywhere you wanted to, in people's houses or anything, and anyone could get up and share with the people there. There would never be any one person over the whole thing telling anybody what to do. This is the way it was supposed to be. And if you read the Bible carefully, you will see Jesus said this was the way it was supposed to be. There was not supposed to be anyone like a pope or bishops or anything that would bring down laws and say this is what you must do, you cannot deviate from this. That was not the way it was intended, and the Bible even says that. Of course, these are the parts that they don't ever talk about in church. Here again, I'm not trying to upset anyone's belief system. I'm just laying out what I have discovered, and I always want people to think about these things and make up their own minds. Never give your power away to anyone. Use your own mind to decide what it is you want to believe. But Joseph of Arimathea, Mother Mary, and the 12 disciples were all at the base, I guess you would say, the central base at Glastonbury. And they began to send out what we would call today missionaries all over the different areas. And they went out to share Jesus' teachings with those areas at that time. The reason why Joseph of Arimathea went there to England was not only because of his connection with the 10 mines, and he was very well known there, and the Druids knew him very well, but he was also connected with the ruling families in those areas, and ended up, I believe, that his descendants intermarried with a lot of these, so there was a lot of close connections. The area there at Glastonbury is right around Chalice Well, is where the very first church was. And that area today is called the holiest spot on earth. And when I was there a few years ago, there's an abbey at Glastonbury. It's in the town. And these bishops at the abbey know the story, and they believe in it. And they talk about the same things that I found about. The reason it is called the holiest place on earth is because Joseph of Arimathea and the disciples were buried there. John lived to be 100 years old, and he was buried there. But also Mary, the mother of Jesus, is buried there. And there is proof of that. The abbey said they have found carvings, so they know this is true. They are all buried there where the original church was in Glastonbury. So it is called the holiest spot on earth. And then the other churches developed in France, led by Lazarus, and then the one in Spain. And the church knows this because in the 1400s, years after this, see, this all occurred within a few years after the crucifixion of Jesus.